we're getting rid of the old stove. Last time using it. This is the new stove. I'm going to show you guys how to convert it from natural gas to LP. I've probably converted like 4 stoves over the years. Everything comes standard set up for natural gas because that's the most common. We live out in the country, so we do not have natural gas. So you can see they send a kit with these little orifices. I actually had to buy a separate conversion kit for that stove, and when I was when I was converting it, I accidentally snapped one of those off. So look at this. Yeah, not what you want. So we're going to start by converting the pressure regulator gas valve portion on the back. And there's 2 different styles that they talk about here in this instruction booklet. This style where you unscrew it, flip it so that the LP is facing in, or natural gas if you're converting the other way around, and then thread it back in, and you can see it depresses that spring a different amount. So for the natural gas it's a looser setting, and for the LP gas it's a tighter setting just by flipping that around. The other style they talk about is like this here, where you take off a cap and then you remove this internal piece and flip it over in order to push the spring further in. But they're both doing the same thing. They're just changing the actual pressure that spring is exerting against the pressure regulating device. Got a helper here holding the light. Here's that little cap that they're talking about. Pull it off of here. So if you look at this, you can see natural gas, we would put that side in, and LP, we put that side in. So we're flipping it around so that this side is going to go directly in. Got that with the LP side in. And again, this does not have to be crazy tight. Just snug. However tight snug is in your mind. That's all we have to do for the regulator. On the top of the stove, these pieces just lift out. You want to keep track of which one goes to which one. Once you have those off, that's the actual orifice. And it should have marks on there telling us what size it is. So yeah, 101 and natural. So once you remove those grates and get down at the actual orifice, it says it's a 7mm or 9/32. And oh no, don't take those out, please. You can't take these out yet. These are really important. It's good to have helpers, right? They want you to tighten them in snug, but you don't want to go too tight because you don't want to twist one of those off in there. That would actually be really bad. This orifice right here broke off in there when I was replacing it, so it does that, which is not good, and that's why we have no handle on that one, and that's also partly why we're upgrading. So there's 5 orifices on this stove. Yours might only have 4, but this one's got 5. And if we look at this, you can see it tells us each location on the stove and then the different orifices. So if you look at each orifice, it's going to have a number. So you can see here it says 92L, and it's got the light blue and brown. So if we look at our chart here and we find 92L, that should be orange and light blue, which it is. It tells us the orifice size and where it goes, which is right front. So that goes here. C is for center, and that one should be the brown green, and it should be the 84L. Yep. And this one here should be the 114. It is kind of hard to see, but that's how I like to do it. I like to just lay out each one next to the burner that it goes to, and then just very carefully remove this one, install this one, and then take the natural gas one and set it aside, and then just go through each one that way. So I've got the wrench with the 9/32 on here. They have on the orifices this little like metal ring, and that's supposed to make the wrench stick onto the piece good without allowing it to fall out. But sometimes they're kind of loose. Sometimes I use a piece of like electrical tape to keep it from falling off. We'll see how this is. You can see not very tight. So that has come loose in there. So those rings are not expanded enough to really hold it tightly. We'll just use a bit of the actual plastic that the stove was shipped in. Then we'll take this piece of plastic and stick the orifice in like that. So now the orifice is wedged in there It's not going to come loose. Of course, just don't let any of your plastic get around there. And then I always finger tighten this in as far as I can before putting any kind of tool on it. And once it's finger tight, you really only need to go like a quarter turn. But you can just kind of feel like I'm confident that's not going to be leaking. So that's the first one down. And now we can proceed with the next one. When I broke off that other orifice on the other stove, it was actually when I was removing it, it was super tight inside of the stove. So it just sheared off as I was pulling it out. The other stove I got used though, so it had been set to be natural gas for a long time. So I think that the orifice just got stuck over time. If you're having a hard time getting the threads lined up, I sometimes will actually run it in reverse, and you can kind of feel when the thread is lining up with where it needs to start tightening in properly. That should be good there. Super easy to drop the orifices down into the stove. So you just have to really take your time. You don't want to have to take apart the stove trying to find anything this big. And just like that, the entire top is converted. So next we're going to move on to the actual oven portion, and that has a different style orifice, which I'll show you. Check this out, I didn't realize it, but this actually has like an electric element on the top instead of a broiler burner. Well, your stove might have a broiler burner, and usually it's just like the same procedure as changing it for the lower one, but on the top. So, whoa, hi there. You come in to help me? So here's what we're going to get at in order to remove that bake orifice. And you can see it takes a T20 screw, and ours does not have the broil burner orifice because it has that element, but here you can see how they lay that out. So here inside the oven, you do have to remove 3 screws, and as far as I can tell, it's this one, and this one. That should allow us to pull this out. Okay, so that kind of twists. That piece just lifts. There's like a little finger that goes into there. And this has a hot surface igniter on it right here. Those are very fragile, so you just want to be really careful to not do anything bad to that. So next you need a 1/2-inch socket right back here. And loosen this out. Natural gas orifice, and here's the propane one. You compare the hole, you can see the hole in the natural gas one is actually a lot larger than the propane one, because different amount of BTUs per hour in natural gas compared to propane, so we have to up the pressure and make the nozzles smaller in order to get the gas and air to mix properly. Alright, so we just tighten that on. Should be good. Now if your oven had a broiler, you would just have to get up in here and change that orifice right there on the back. This one's got a gas broiler, and so that's what I had to take off when I converted this stove. Mine that I'm doing right now does not have one, but it's the same procedure. Just thread that off and thread the new one on. Just drop that back down into there. So next I'm going to disconnect and remove the old range, and then there's actually an adjustment procedure we need to go through on the burners themselves to make sure that everything is all good. Determine the quality of the flames visually. Normal burner flames should look like A. Yellow tips on outer cones is normal for propane gas. Long bright yellow flames are not normal. Normal flames may show signs of an orange tint, when well heated or signs of flickering orange due to particles in the gas. But we don't want them to be like really big yellow flames, like what we get on that broken orifice stove. We definitely don't want that. But they do have this adjustment procedure that we need to go through just to make sure everything's set okay. So we'll do that in a few minutes here after I get it swapped out. And according to the instructions, you're not supposed to reuse these, but this is actually only like 4 years old, so I'm just gonna reuse it. Oh, wow, that is tight. Past me needs to take a chill pill. Oh, wow. I do not know why I went so tight with that. Didn't want it to leak, I guess. So I'm just gonna remove the old anti-tip bracket, which I actually do think is an important thing to install. And we'll put in the new one that they shipped.
Are you gonna paint it?
Paint it?
Yeah.
No, this is actually called pipe dope.
Pipe dope?
Yep, it makes the thread seal. So we're gonna apply a nice coat of pipe dope onto the threads. You just want to be careful to not get it inside of the fitting, because if it gets passed into your valve, it can damage it.
My hot camera.
Can you see what I'm videoing?
Yeah.
And then this is technically a metal on metal seal, so it doesn't need any pipe dope for the actual flex. Turn on the gas to this and then I'll check it for leaks. Got it soaped down good. I'm not seeing any bubbling. Let's see. Oh, this is the middle burner. There goes that one. There it goes, finally. Nice. Actually, they all look pretty good. So I read through the procedure. We're supposed to light all the burners and put them on the medium. High is 10, so that means 5 is medium. And then, whichever burner you're going to adjust, so if we're going to adjust this burner, we set it all the way to low. And we're supposed to then pull the handle off and stick a screwdriver down in here. And you can see there's a flat screw, but they want me to turn that in as far as possible while still maintaining a flame on there, because basically with it set up for natural gas and then switching back to LP, the low settings are still a little bit too high. But if the flame appears too low when it's on its lowest setting, then I'm supposed to adjust them a little bit open. So I'm just going to go through and kind of adjust them, each individual one. So we've got this one on low now, and I finally got a screwdriver that actually fits in here. And once we get that locked in, if flame appears too low or unstable, slowly turn adjustment screw counterclockwise until a stable flame exists for each burner. Oh yeah, turn clockwise as far as possible while maintaining a stable flame. So they just want the small flames to be stable, but also be not crazy large. That is very tight. So I'm just going to go through and adjust them. I feel like that is not too big, but I basically just want to make sure all of the low settings are low enough. So there it is, successfully converted and adjusted. Pretty happy with how it is operating now. So I hope that you found this video helpful in adjusting your stove. Really not that bad, kind of nice to watch someone else do it first though, so you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. It's definitely time to upgrade. This one is looking pretty rough, but yeah, this is gonna be sweet. They do also send a sticker which you're supposed to write on to say that it's been converted, so and that can just be stuck on the back of the unit somewhere. Perfect.